What's up, y'all? Today I want to take a look at this Ferramonster Urbangrip V2. Now, if you didn't know, Ferramonster is kind of like the higher end branding of Wixco. They are the same company. Wixco is just more of the budget friendly stuff, and Ferramonster is more of the high end knives. And this is a knife that really exceeded my expectations. I've had my eye on Ferramonster for a while, and their designs were always very interesting to me, so I'm really excited that I was able to take a look at one and show it to you because, again, this thing did exceed my expectations. So we'll go ahead and just jump right in, and we'll start with the blade. We've got this 3.67-inch blade of M390 steel, and it's got this really nice hand-rubbed satin finish on the blade. That is not an easy finish to achieve well like this, so it is really nice to see it on a production folder and so well done. We can take a look at the slicing geometry and just measure the thickness behind the edge on it. So this comes down to, looks like around 17 thousandths behind the edge. So it's not going to be the thinnest, sliciest knife. It is going to still perform very well. Anything kind of 17, 18 thousandths in below is just fine in my book, but it's not, getting into extreme territory. I'd say getting around under 10 thousandths would be starting to get into that. Anyway, we've got a titanium handle scales. It is a titanium frame lock. It's got these marbled carbon fiber inlays, which are quite nice. It does kind of bring this build together with the gold accents on the thumb studs and pivots and screws. I do like this build. They do have different options available. They have kind of some acid wash, stone wash builds, and normally that's kind of what I would go for, but I purposefully wanted to get something that was kind of out of my comfort zone because I like trying different stuff that I didn't think I would normally go for, and I'm glad that I did. I really like the way that this knife looks, and it is something I'm just really glad I kind of tried to do something different here. Gold isn't really normally my thing, and so that was that coloring, but let me tell you, it's grown on me. I'm really enjoying this quite a bit. For the lock bar, we have a lock bar insert and over travel stop, and we do have some really good lock bar access. It isn't too much. It is to where it's not in the way of it ergonomically, but we do have just enough to be able to quickly find it and get to it with that groove. No issues with the lock bar access whatsoever. It is perfect in my book. The jimping here helps with the front flipping action very well, and the action on this knife is something else. We'll get into that momentarily. Now, jimping does offer a little bit of extra grip here for kind of like the absence of a thumb ramp or anything like that. That jimping is nice, but the ergonomics on this knife are just right for me. I don't need anything more than just this ergonomically, and I can really appreciate that because this is just a titanium frame lock, but it is very light because, again, there's no internal milling because of these inlays, so it's kind of got external milling, but it's very lightweight. I'll throw the spec up for the weight here. I don't have that kind of right in front of me, but this is almost 8.5 inches overall, so it's a bigger knife. We'll go ahead and do a little size comparison. So we've got a PM2 here, and we can throw a small Sabenza underneath it just so we can get some kind of context for the size there. It's easy to read some numbers on paper, but when we actually see it lined up to other stuff, kind of gives some better perspective for that there. For a pocket clip, it is non-reversible and it is nice stylized. It's got some nice milling on there and it is a really nice functional pocket clip. And my absolute favorite thing about this knife is the action. This has just among the top opening and closing action on of any of the knives that I've tried. It's I would say it's the best. Like, I could go and say every knife that I try that's good, it's the best. It's among the best. It's up there with the top ones. I would say, like, it does maybe get better than this, but it might get better than this with like a Grimsmo Norseman with like $1,000 knives. Maybe it's getting better than this, but I would say, like, for this price range, like, that's as good as this gets. Like, it is really, really nice action on that. The detent on this thing is tuned perfectly. Like, that's what allows to have some of the best front flipping action. Like, you're not really having to try to get the angle just right or anything. You can even just do a finger flick like that, and it is just effortless. And it doesn't take much to break that detent. And it's not a soft detent. It's not a mushy detent, but it is effortless. Like, you don't have to worry about it falling open in your pocket or anything like that, but it doesn't take much to overcome it, but it is just crisp enough that you're not going to have any failures on deployments. But it is just, again, I keep saying it, but it is just effortless in such a good way. And the closing action as well. Like, we can see the drop shut action on that is ridiculous. Give it just one more shake close and it is just in there. Really, really addicting action on this knife. That is the part that really blew my expectations away. Of course, we've got a 100% solid lockup. We've got perfect centering. The fit and finish on this knife is there. You are definitely getting what you pay for with this. I think these come in at around $260, I want to say. But all the little details, the way these little angular knockdowns on the handle scales, the pocket clip, this build, everything is very well thought out with this knife, and it really brings it all together very, very nicely. But again, the action on this thing, I mean, this is just something else, something to be experienced for a knife in this price range. I have been thoroughly just enjoying it. I mean, I could just sit and do this all day with this one. So, we've talked about the good and the great and what my favorite thing is about this knife. So we can kind of move on to a few things that aren't my favorite thing. This knife is not perfect, but the things that I don't like about it are not deal breakers. The first major one is this choil here. So this choil, now this little cutout here, I'll start by saying that that's not used for a stop pin. We've got blade fixed kind of internal stop pins there. So the stop pins are fixed to the blade and they go around a radius that is in the handle scale. So we do not need that cutout right there. And I don't know if that's a remnant of a different design where they did have that there like that. But it doesn't really serve a purpose as a sharpening choil either, because the edge termination in plunge is on the wrong side of the choil. Like, it should be back here, or they should have widened the choil a little bit so this would actually be a sharpening choil. Maybe they went with that because then it makes the plunge parallel with the end of the scale. So we've got a nice kind of uniform looking ricasso area there. Maybe they couldn't back the whole thing up because then they would have trouble getting the thumb studs on part of what is kind of angled for the bevel. So I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure there's some design purpose of how it ended up that way, but you leave me with this kind of little nub here. Like, does that, you'll be able to sharpen up past that, but I mean, I'm not going to sharpen up this knife that much. I'll definitely sharpen it and I'll definitely kind of smooth and flatten that out a little bit right there, because I want to say it does look like it kind of sticks up a little bit, but that's really my only main gripe with this knife. That's the only real negative thing I have to say. The other thing is that the lock bar relief cuts are on the outside of the handle scale, like on the outside of the lock. That, with it being right above this pocket clip, can sometimes make that like bind up on looser fabrics. And sometimes if it binds up and you really give it a yank, it's taking some of that fabric with it. Now, I have had on knives where that is immediately apparent that that's an issue. And when I saw it, I thought it was going to be more of an issue than it actually was. So I've been carrying and using this knife a good little bit, and I haven't really had that issue. Maybe they smoothed everything out in there enough that it really doesn't become a problem. It's not particularly sharp, so I'm not really worried about it so much. Like, when I saw it, I thought it would be an issue, but in actual use, and it ended up not being so much. So hopefully it stays that way. But the Ferramonster Urbangrip V2, just such an exceptional knife, such great action. What a great looking knife too. I mean, this is just, really nice looking knife here. Really can appreciate the design choices here, 99% of them. But, again, far from a deal breaker for me with this thing. I can get over that. I can get past that. So if you're curious about Ferramonster and you want to check something out from them, I would definitely suggest it. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they have to offer. I want to definitely check out some other knives from them. But anyway, thank you for watching.